Welcome to Creamer Media's Polity. I'm Amy Witherden. I am at the Centre for Policy Studies in Braamfontein to meet with Aubrey Machitli to discuss his views on the factors that continue to divide South Africa. Aubrey, you say in a recent opinion column that the murder of AVB leader Eugene TerreBlanche has only added to the list of things that continue to divide South Africa along racial lines. Please tell me your views on his murder, first of all.
Well, the first thing we must bear in mind is that the AWB was moribund, and Mr. TerreBlanche, as a political figure, was not even on the margins of South African politics. It is the death that has lent the AWB some relevance. But this moment is an opportunity for South Africa to step back and reflect, because if we look at the responses to the killing, it is very clear that there is still a gap between the reality of reconciliation and the aspiration for reconciliation. This does not mean no reconciliation has been taking place. Some reconciliation has taken place, but we still have a long way to walk. We still have a lot of work to do, and we should see this killing as an opportunity for all of us as South Africans to reflect on what we must do individually and collectively to achieve the goal of a non-racial society.
What about Julius Malema?
Well, the Julius Malema phenomenon and Julius Malema as a political figure or even a political symbol are very complex, because you can look at Julius Malema as an instrument or as a medium. He is a medium to the extent that extremists on both sides use him as a medium through which they can transmit their prejudices. But he himself, as a demagogue with a huge appetite for the outrageous and outlandish, plays the role of distortion, because in the way he engages with some issues, he turns what is true false and false true, and so performs the function of distortion. But more importantly, if you look at what has been happening on Facebook, or what I call faceless book, is that if you look at the level of prejudice and racism that people are expressing on Facebook, it's not just the anonymity they enjoy on Facebook. It's the fact that they hide behind Julius Malema that gives them a sense of anonymity at another level. So Julius Malema plays that role too, that he gives people a sense of anonymity, and therefore people feel free to do and say the outrageous.
What do you make of the link that many people make between Malema's Kill the Boer song and TerreBlanche's death?
Well, it is still my contention that we do not know what happened there. Beyond the fact that the police are investigating a murder that may have been motivated by a salary dispute. I do not know whether the alleged killers were motivated by the song, nor do I know they were not. My appeal is that we should wait until the evidence is in, either way. But if I were to put my head on the block, I suspect that no evidence will be adduced linking the song to the killing.
Please explain your comment that Malema and TerreBlanche's AVB are two sides of the same irrational coin.
Well, it's broader than that, actually, in the sense that South Africa tends to swing between hysterical optimism and hysterical pessimism. At the moment, the country is seized by a sense of hysterical pessimism. Both the hysterical pessimism and the hysterical optimism tend to lower our collective IQ. Hence some of the irrational responses to both the Malema song and TerreBlanche's killing. And therefore what we have seen at a level broader than the contribution made by Malema is a clash of irrationalities. So those who support Malema and his detractors to some extent have become two sides of the same irrational coin. But if you limit it to Malema and the AWB, there's an extent to which what Malema says and what some AW supporters have been saying is irrational. And therefore in those two, you have competing irrationalities. And hence I talk about the two being two sides of the same irrational coin.
You say that the hysteria prevalent in this environment is a threat to the reconciliation project. How so? Well,
the simplest of things that can happen when a country is seized by hysteria is that someone will do something stupid and worsen the situation. But what I fear the most is that when a country is seized by hysteria, then you start, as we're seeing now, hearing people saying destem, the flying of the old flag, certain struggle songs must be banned. And I always say that every cause, no matter how noble, has its has its tyrants. And therefore my fear is that when a country is seized by hysteria, that might provide an opportunity for ordinary citizens to impose tyranny on other citizens. Now, it's not enough that we're offended for us to think we should ban that which offends us. And when you look at, let's say, Malema or supporters of the AWB, it's not enough that what they say offends us. The question you must ask is whether they are in violation of the Constitution or any other law. If they are not, their civil liberties must be protected. In fact, if we want to test our commitment to democracy, it's very easy to express commitment to democracy when you're protecting the rights of those who agree with you. Actually, we must place a higher premium on the protection of the democratic rights of those who do not agree with us. And therefore, it is my view that to the extent that we've been offended by what Malema says, or what some AWB supporters have been doing or saying, if the things they do and say are not in violation of any law, the fact that we are offended should not cause us to have the things they do or say banned.
What way do you see out of this situation?
Well, the first thing we have to accept is that most South Africans are not on the extremes. Most South Africans are in the middle. And it is my view that most South Africans are committed to the idea of a non-racial society. We might differ about how we achieve that goal. But we must not lose sight of that goal just because from time to time we fight amongst ourselves. We have been plagued by the problem of racism for more than 250 years. It's going to take more than 16 years to solve the problem. What is important, as I said, is that we step back, we reflect on how all of us as South Africans can make a contribution. But the mistake we must not make is that of foregrounding the fears of some at the expense of the concerns of others. Because once you do that, well, you are coming closer and closer towards some kind of explosion. So there is a need for us to speak openly and honestly to one another about the problem of race, because one of the problems I see in South Africa today is that there is a lot of code switching. White people, in the absence of black people, say things about black people they won't say in their presence. Black people, in the absence of white people, say things about white people they won't say in their presence. It is in the code switching that I think a lot of danger lies, because this code switching suggests that in the common spaces where we discuss reconciliation, we're not being completely honest with one another.
No space for hypocrisy.
Exactly.
Thank you, Aubrey.
You're welcome.